Scheduler management. So how do we define those schedulers that we're using today, namely Automic and AutoSys in our portfolio within the new Web UI? So with the new Web UI, we have a really nice new look login. I'm going to log into the product as myself, and I'm configured as an administration user within the JAWS domain. And I'm immediately presented with the system page of the AAI Web UI. In order to add a scheduler, we now have an Add Scheduler icon or button on the right-hand side of our screen. To add a scheduler, we simply click on the Add Scheduler button and provide our scheduler with a name. Once provided with a name, we can select the scheduler type. In this case, I'll choose AutoSys. And at that point, we're presented with the information that we need to enter in order to integrate AAI with the AutoSys scheduler. We have a primary and a secondary tab here. Those are required if your customer is running high availability dual server AutoSys environment. You would specify your primary database details here, the database type, the host name, port, database name, a user ID with reader access, and a password. In this case, we're looking at an AutoSys scheduler. And as we run this enablement, I'm not going to go through the creation of the synonyms within an Oracle database, but be aware that if you are integrating AAI with an AutoSys customer that is using Oracle, synonyms will be required for each of the AutoSys database tables in order for AAI to integrate correctly. We recommend that the user ID on the database level in the AutoSys database is granted read-only access. AAI at no point will write any information to any of the scheduler databases it connects to, so that is just a read-only account. Our secondary tab provides the exact same requirement for the shadow or secondary database in an AutoSys HADS configuration. We toggle on the use secondary connection and fill in the details as appropriate. The AutoSys API tab allows you to hook into the ability to issue a send event through AAI. Now, within the AAI configuration here of the scheduler, you need to provide the host name and port number that the application server for this particular instance you are adding is located on. It's also worth noting that in order for this piece of functionality to work successfully, the AutoSys client must also be installed on the AAI server that the platform server is running upon. In our Advanced tab, we have the ability for the first time you are integrating with an AutoSys instance to add historical data. So data beyond the lifetime of the execution data within the AutoSys database. In order to do that, the DB main execution files on the AutoSys system themselves will need to be uploaded at the point that you integrate with the AutoSys system. It's important that you note that after the initial creation of the AutoSys integration, it's not possible to backdate and provide this information at a later time or date. An important thing to note, in 650, we are automatically now selecting the next generation or V2 prediction model when an AutoSys instance is integrated. So what does this look like if we have an AutoSys system connected? Let's take a look at one that has been configured ahead of the call. When we open up the AutoSys connection, we have two tabs available to us, the monitoring details and connection configuration. We also have the ability to edit, delete the scheduler configuration or close the page that we're looking at. If I want to switch a scheduler on or offline, and in essence, prevent AAI from processing any events from that AutoSys instance, I simply click on the toggle here. This will switch the instance from online to offline. We have a status indicator. We can see whether our jammer and converter are running, and we can see when the events and job definitions have last been reviewed. If I jump into the edit view, again, this is the information I spoke of a second ago with the database information relevant to this particular instance. So there's no big surprises there. If you are talking to a customer that is using Oracle RAC for their AutoSys system, then the custom JDBC URL comes into play, and that can be used in order to have your AAI system connect to an Oracle RAC AutoSys system. Once everything is connected, you can click on Test Connection, and that will run a test to make sure that AAI is able to connect and read the data from the AutoSys database. So that is really, in a nutshell, the AutoSys scheduler. Let's take a look at adding an Automic scheduler, because there are some subtle differences. Again, I'm going to add the scheduler to show you what this looks like when we're starting net new. I'm going to choose the Automic Automation scheduler, and now I have some different information relative to the connector framework that's required for AAI to connect to the Automic system. Please bear in mind again that as part of this enablement, I am not going to show you how to install or configure the Automic connector. There is content available on the Academy and in multiple places that's available for you to review and consume in order to help you with that connector installation. Once the connector has been installed and started, you'll be able to specify or choose the connector by the name it was given at installation within the connector drop-down list. We can specify our default time zone. We need to specify the Automic system name and provide the Automic client ID for the client that you would like AAI to connect to. Each Automic client is going to be treated as an individual scheduler within the AAI system. We need to specify the Automic REST API endpoint and an Automic REST API user and REST API password. Again, I'm not going to cover the privileges and authorizations in the Automic workload automation system itself as part of this enablement, but again, there is content available on the Academy to help you with that integration. We also need to specify the Automic web interface URL and specify here times upon which we would like AAI to receive the updated job definitions from the Automic system. Debug log and automatic REST API payloads is a toggle here that allows you to switch on logging of the logging of the calls that are made to the Automic system and the resulting JSON that is returned. This can be really useful for debugging purposes. However, be aware when you switch this debugging on, the amount of data transferred and written to the log files for the connector will increase significantly. So ensure that you have sufficient disk on the connector machine available, or a recycle file size and number in the Automic connector configuration able to facilitate the collection of those logs without impacting the system itself. So that is the specifics that you would need to really look at and understand when connecting for the first time to an Automic scheduler. Again, let's have a look at one that has already been defined. Very similar to the AutoSys configuration, we have our monitoring details and connection configuration. And again, toggling online and offline the scheduler to prevent events from being consumed by AI is possible with this icon here. The connection configuration, again, shows all of the data that you would have entered in the previous panel in order to have AAI integrate with the scheduler successfully. We can see our Automic REST API endpoint here, the Automic URL. We have an Automic REST API user here that's specified, and our job definition refresh times. So that really is connecting the schedulers to the AAI system. The system monitoring page also has some details specific to the AAI server itself, in that you can see how long that server has been up, when that server was started, how many jobs are held within the AAI server, and the memory that it's currently using, and the maximum memory that the system has been allocated. So that is very quickly how to add a scheduler, an Automic or AutoSys scheduler, into the AAI system via the web UI.